Hey guys, I'm going to tell you now about what I've learned just now about green screen. I have a green screen behind me. It's not actually a cartoon beach that I'm standing on right now. I'm going to show you the desktop behind me and show you how I got to this green screen setting in OBS. As you can see, this width here, this red thing, it's extra wide compared to 1080p because the screen I'm using is 21 by 9. It's a 5K monitor which I reviewed. It's a Kogan. It was $700 for me or $799 for me, but I think they dropped the price to $200. It's an awesome ultra wide screen with a stand that was $70 extra. I'm sitting at my Secret Lab Magnus Pro desk with lights and a special frame that I've just basically put a video up for. Just got an iPhone Mini 12 and an iPhone 11. I bought that Mini 12 a couple of days ago. Fucking love it. Love everything. I got rid of my DSLR light that was hanging here because it just couldn't focus. The microphone was shit and all sorts of things. Right now, as you can see, my iPhone 11 is giving me the audio right now because I haven't plugged in my sound disk yet. I'm just waiting on some new microphones and things because my AKG Mini Pro 2 system, which has these kind of microphones connected to it to replace the Rode Wireless Go that I'm sending back for a refund in about 10 minutes. I can't plug this type of cable into it. I can only plug in the AKG style 3-pin mini XLR, and there are 3 types of mini XLR cables. One's for Shure, one's for Audio Technica, and one's for AKG Samson or something. Right, so it's all very, you have to look things up and get the connections right and get the cables right. In addition, this screen through Droid Cam was dropping out. This camera, the iPhone 11, was dropping out every so often with Droid Cam because I was running everything from my computer, which is 10 meters away via 10 meter cables, into a hub, a USB 3 hub, but it was a hub, and it's not a fiber optic cable like I keep saying that USB one. It's just a high speed. It could be fiber optic, but it doesn't advertise it as such. I double checked because I just had to buy a third one because the hub is no good. You can't just use one of those long cables that are 10 meters long if you've got a central computer with multicam set up in another room. And I was using HDMI from the DSLR camera, originally, and I've decided not to use that anymore because I'm sick of the weight of it and the old-fashionedness of it. DSLR cameras are for camera people and they're not user-friendly. And I'm not completely stupid with technology, but cameras, they're so bad. The interface is just awful every single time. I'd much rather just get 2 iPhones plus my iPhone 16 Pro and just make life easy for myself. So I've got 3 iPhones now. Fucking awesome. No webcams. I was looking at getting the Insta360 with tracking and stuff, but then I realized it needs to be stationary and locked. And with the use of this awesome frame that I got, which I reviewed, it's such an awesome setup. And if I want to do puppeting or whatever, right, puppeteering, I can just raise my arms above my head and go against the green screen. Hopefully those puppets will work. Now you're going into a different part there. Come back down here for a second. Come back down here. This light up here, I kind of need to shade you from it. So you can see the green screen stuff kicking in. Yeah. Right, I'm going to go into the green screen settings now and show you what I've done. So inside the one that matters, the iPhone 11, it's probably better for me to have a sort of a blackish background so I can see how much green remains. Now, first of all, you need the screen to be green. Okay, so if you double click on that, it just brings you in here and it talks about Droid Cam settings and so on as a what is this? It's a, like if I was to add something, it would be a video capture device, right? And then you add the OBS Droid Cam feature. And I've got Droid Cam running through this. Droid Cam is a program, an app that you download. It's also a plugin, so it's an app I put on my phone plus a plugin I put on OBS, and it allows me to control the zoom functions of both cameras. Right, if I switch to the iPhone 12 mini above, if I'm looking down on the desk, I can zoom in on that one as well, all from my desk. I'm not touching the phones here. I'm just using the mouse, right, to zoom in and out on stuff, so that I have full control just right from the desk, which is fucking awesome. Okay, so I'll just go back to getting rid of the 12 cam. I'm probably coming through both microphones because I didn't mute that one, but now it mutes by default the moment I deactivate the visuals of it, unless I change the layers. So you can see the Droid Cam here in the background. I've just kind of pressed the eyeball closed thing. What I can do instead is just put the display capture, which is the desktop background, over the top of it and just keep doing that, and then the audio levels won't be affected. Okay, I've also got a dedicated monitor to my left which shows me exactly what OBS is showing, as well as the 21:9 monitor that I use for everything. There's a second monitor which is 100% dedicated to the output visuals only of OBS. In terms of audio levels, I've tried monitoring that direct from the PC wirelessly or even wired, and there's always lag between the input, no matter what, a microphone going through a mixing desk or just a microphone directly into the computer, everything else. And especially from a camera using Droid Cam via USB cables and everything, it's always going to have lag when I listen back to it, and it's going to just annoy the shit out of me. So I just have to watch the levels and make sure I'm getting into at least the yellow, because if it's below the yellow when I speak, I know that it's too quiet for you. Okay, so let's talk about the green screen settings here. How do we get into green screen settings? You click here in this under sources on the camera that you want the green screen to work on. Second step is click on this filters button here. It's illogical, I know, it should be under the same banner, but you've got to just jump around in this program. It's a pretty good program though, I've got to say, OBS, and it's free. I can't believe it. It's fucking amazing for being free. Now, it puts you in front of the green screen here. Forget color key, I'm going to delete that right now. Doesn't work. It's just shit. It might be good for something, but I don't know what. And chroma key, right? I'm going to turn off chroma key with the eyeball, right? And you can see that's the actual visuals of what you're looking at when you see me. Now, before, I had major problems with this green screen because I had the lights too bright on the green screen. I've got dedicated lights in the ceiling on a painted green wall behind me. I'll just zoom out here. I'll just show you what I'm doing here. I can't because I'll make myself smaller so you can see, okay? Right, there. Now you can see. Okay, see on the right hand side here, if I zoom out and just even go ultra wide so you can totally see what's going on here, right? I painted that wall green with special Chroma green paint from Roscoe. It just has no wrinkles in it because it's paint, and the shading can never be more perfect. And the lights I've drilled into the ceiling because my mum owns this place, so I did that. So I don't have to have mess all over around the floor, no cables, nothing. All the cables run through the ceiling and it's been wired up perfectly. I didn't extend that all the way to my desk where everything's just hovering in front of me. I've still got limitations. Now, it's easier to do green screen stuff when you're not a tiny little square in the corner. And when you do go back in here to do these settings, you don't want to just be in front of nothing. You want to see what the screen looks like behind you. In fact, it's probably too dark so for me to get a proper gauge of what's going on here. So it's better for me to see some kind of background like this so I can see how effective my work is. Not something with too much green in it. And the problem is, I would do it this way, right? Because I can see the settings on this screen and I can see the output on that screen, but you can't see what I'm teaching you, so I have to go back to my desktop background, which is right about here, okay? But I'm also too big and in your way as well, so I'm just going to shrink myself down a little bit so you can see more of what's going on. These buttons here behind me are not going to be too much relevant to you, so it doesn't matter. Right, these ones. I'm actually pointing at the tiny little preview window in there and it still kind of works, but this is what I'm talking about, right? You don't need to see these ones for this particular part of the lesson. Inside Chroma key, double click. Now select color. How do you pick what type of green or whatever? It takes forever, right? No, click on this button here, pick screen color, and then what are you going to do? There's no green left. You got rid of it already. Don't do that, right? Get out of there. Turn off Chroma key. Select color, pick screen color. Now pick a darkish green. And I've got lights all over in front of me. If I change those, it's probably going to fuck up the green screen settings a bit as well, because everything's balanced between the front and the back to make OBS understand what it needs to do, right? So I'm going to click on this sort of darkish green bit there. It's a pity you can't do a green range, but there is something, a slider for similarity. So now that I've picked that green and it's showing here, right, I'm going to press OK. I've got to remember what I'm seeing and what I think you can see is not what I see in front of me. I've got to keep checking over there on that other screen to see what you can actually see, because just then I thought my mouse was perfectly in view. I thought this window was perfectly in view, but it's not. In fact, I don't know how much of that lesson I just fucked up by leaving that unchecked. All right. Also, my head's facing this way in this camera, and it's facing the other way, and it's all confusing, but that's what happens when you have it's even happening same on the, like, you can see 3 of my heads right now, right? And they're all fucking, it's a story of a lovely lady. Freaking Brady Bunch shit going on here. Okay, here are the settings. Turn Chroma key on, right? Let's imagine I haven't done any of this, but 8168, okay, 8168 140. Remind me if I don't get back here nicely, okay? So, there. That's basically, everything's set to 0 or 1, apparently. Okay, so I'm going to turn up similarity a bit and try to get rid of the minimal amount of green at least until there's nothing there. Now there's a massive halo around me, okay? Then I'm going to, by the way, in most productions that would be probably clipped. That microphone cable would be probably clipped to the back of my collar or something, so it wouldn't just slide down my throat and get yanked every time I lean forward on the chair. Similarity, I'm going to bring that up a bit. See, I've got to be in front of things in order for this to kind of work. And now that most of that green screen's out of your way, you can see past my head. So I'm going to make my head a bit bigger here. Right? I need to see a background. I can't just have black there, because shadows are black. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help you, right? I'm going to go into Neewer and turn off the main lights here and see what happens, right? This is the Neewer app that controls my lighting. Preset 1 is off. Not the power button, preset 1. Minimum brightness, that's 0 brightness. That means that these lights won't fall asleep and I have to go and manually turn them back on again because they drop out of Bluetooth. That's what you've got to do in this. These are RGB 190s from Neewer, N-E-E-W-E-R. There are heaps of signs and stickers and things on heaps of stuff that I got here that says Neewer on it. Also says small rig, and some of the best brands don't have labeling at all. They're my favorite brands. Like Vigium, it's a fucking amazing frame here. Which is probably just a placeholder name for a company that didn't ever really get its shit together yet, until it makes a fortune and then it'll start promoting itself better. Okay, now it does. It's a good product. This fucking frame, I love it. But I love this desk. This desk is the heart of everything, by the way. Get the Magnus Pro Secret Lab desk. It's fucking awesome. I wish I had some affiliation with them, so I keep telling people how good it is. All right. I'm just messing around with these settings here. There is something called color correction. You can increase saturation later, right? If you have to use key color spill reduction too much. It's a very big balancing act to try and make your head not invisible and not have green all over the place, okay? Because if you've got curly hair with green poking through, it's really hard to understand why they can't just make anything that's green. I'm just going to go back to having that background image for a second so I can get some color contrast. Yeah, see, my hairs are all fucking fucked up and weird around the tips there. I don't really know how to make it perfect, okay? Unless I was standing in front of a green forest. I'm going to just get rid of that. For now, I'll go back to the settings. Yeah, I got a green halo, see? I was deceived. What I need is a fill light from behind, I think it's called. A light coming down from the ceiling behind me. You can even see how there's a massive halo of green around my fingers and stuff, especially when I move, because the frame rate is not fast enough to capture each moment of my hand. I'm going to go into color correction here, because I feel like... No, I'm not. First of all, I've got to get rid more of that green. There's too much green around my head. Depends what type of screen you're watching this on as well, but I shouldn't rely on that at all. So mostly any strands of hair are kind of probably going to become invisible like this. But it's good enough for this, what I got now. I feel like that's pretty good. Now I feel like I'm a little bit too desaturated, so I'm going to go into color correction, which enables me to decrease or increase my saturation level. And that's as tanned as... That's probably about as tanned as I actually am, and that's how tanned I want to be, so I'll leave it about there. Okay. I'm going to zoom out of this iPhone 11 a little bit so my chin is more in shot, and maybe lower that camera a little bit. Okay, and then about it. Still feel like when I sit back it's going to be about there, okay? And then I would get rid of the display capture in the background and go back to the iPhone 12 mini above, and then I would shrink myself as the instructor down into the corner. Well, not that one. Me, right? Then hopefully I'll just be sort of out of the way and just looking in the right direction. It's so dirty. Like, it's not dirty, I just cleaned it, but the residue of the cleaning, look at that. Lighting makes a huge difference in everything. Just to double check that green screen stuff is working nicely. It looks like I'm hovering something here, but you can see it's green in reality, right? And then even if I put it next to my face that way, at the moment I put it next to my face on this camera, let's go on. In terms of output settings, if you want to see some of that stuff, it won't let me, I pressed the wrong buttons in the wrong order. Okay, so in terms of output settings for OBS, video set to 1920 by 1080, aspect ratio 16:9. That is the most common aspect ratio output for anybody in the world, but I had a lot of trouble trying to get this exactly what I want. What if you wanted to output to some fucking shitty website like TikTok? You would go in here and there's no option to go 1080 by 1920 in the drop down box. But what I discovered is you come in here and you double tap it and it highlights the numbers and you type 1080 times 1920. And you've just manually done it, and the aspect ratio will correct itself to 9 by 16. I've set everything to 30 frames a second, which is fine. I don't want the files to be super massive. They're already about, I'd say 5 gig an hour, but I just increased the output here. I never stream, so it's all about recording for me. I've just increased the output to 15,000 kilobits or 15 megabits per second. And they're the other settings that I've got going on here, based on what other people told me. Everything outputs as an MKV file, just in case the recording is interrupted for any reason, and it won't be lost. Everything recorded up to that point has already been written, whereas if you make the recording format MP4, if you have an error while filming, and you could be filming a podcast, which is over an hour in a lot of cases, it'll all be lost. So MKV at the end, when I press stop recording, the blue button there, it'll say remuxing, right? And it'll automatically do that because of, I think, some setting I did somewhere along the line. Automatically remux or something. Just trust me, I did. I don't know where the automatic remux button is. I don't know what remux actually means other than to make an MKV file into an MP4 file. But it's a term that's used when remuxing happens, basically with MKV files. So I've just continued doing it that way. Unfortunately, that means that you're stuck with two massive files of the same size. After you've confirmed the MP4 works, you can just delete the MKV file. And it'll be in your recycle bin, so you've got one last chance if you ever fuck up your MP4 file, or you've discovered it does have glitches or something after all, and you want to go back to the original source file, which is there. Right, constant bitrate instead of constant QP. Those file, I was doing constant QP at the recommendation of some gamer streamer, right? And the files were like 15 gig per hour, at least, or maybe 30, 40, 50 gig per hour. Ridiculous what his recommendations were. So I don't know how he was, what kind of computer he had. I've got 30 terabytes in my hard. That's pretty good, where I've got 30 terabytes. And it's always filling up, and I'm always replacing hard drives. So I'm not going to be doing more than 10 gig an hour. Like you watch a movie, right, on Netflix or something, and it's usually like up to 3 gig maximum for a full 90-minute, 2-hour movie. That's it. So for us, why are we making movies bigger than they make in Hollywood? That's ridiculous. And still they get really good quality, don't they? And we've still stuck with this pixely fucking right, 8-bit shit. So we are looking for that remux automatically button, and it's not in the audio section. By the way, he also told me make everything 320 in, I don't remember where. I'm not sure if all these actual settings are showing. Anyway, there were my video output, which is basically 1920 by 1080, even though my canvas actually is 5K. I've just crunched it all down so it would fit on most screens. I can't output 5K. YouTube doesn't even accept uploads to 5K, which is where the destination is for pretty much everything I'm making, to begin with at least. So, green screen stuff. Do you learn anything? Good. Let's get rid of that. Am I too big in the corner here? I am a giant. I could afford to probably make myself even smaller. I've seen people put themselves down there. Hello, everybody. Right, no, that's too big. Right, it's too massive. Get out of here. Right, you want to be a little bit, this little growly man down in the corner there, and then hopefully you'll look okay in front of media sources like this. You're gaming or something. You're not in the way of the health bar or whatever. Anyway, ciao. Hope you learned something. Got a remux now.